Hi, everyone. My name is Steven Allspach. I'm a Meraki specialist, leading our hospitality vertical, focused on our biggest 3 hospitality accounts, and also our 2 largest Meraki accounts. And I'm joined here today with Sidney Burks, who is the CTO and co-founder of Boundless Digital. And today we're here to talk about one of the use cases that we've engaged Boundless on for IHG. IHG is one of the largest hoteliers in the world, with over 6,500 hotels globally. So one of the largest challenges that IHG had during COVID was licensing. Their licensing was all mixed up amongst all of their hotels, and IHG nor Meraki knew exactly which hotels were expiring and when they needed to be renewed. And so we had went 2 years through COVID, just extending grace period licensing, costing Cisco Meraki essentially millions of dollars because we couldn't figure out how to renew them. So I knew we needed to figure out a way, and we couldn't solve it by ourselves. So we reached out to our ecosystem. Meraki has a wonderful ecosystem group of partners, and we found Boundless Digital, who had already been working with one of our other hospitality customers on another use case. And we reached out to them and said, hey, can you come and help us fix this? So we came to them with 3 primary challenges. First was we didn't even know what devices were deployed across all IHG hotels. We didn't know when the licensing was supposed to expire, how much licensing time they had left, if there were still ones that had valid licensing left. And then thirdly, they were also moving into an SD-WAN project, full Meraki SD-WAN project. And to leverage the full capabilities of the Meraki platform, they needed to have all of their MXs in a single org. And they were currently spread across multiple orgs. So we needed Boundless's help to try to move all of those devices into one single org, which we can't do with Meraki tools today. So those are the 3 major challenges. I reached out to both Noel and Sydney, and I said, here's the problem. Can you help? I know you guys can do almost anything with APIs. So that's when we engaged you.
Yeah, that's true. We can do a lot of stuff with APIs. And I think the funny thing is that none of us had solutions at the time about how to come across these challenges. So you and I had to work together quite a bit to figure out what we're going to do, right? You and I sat down and we figured out, okay, how are we going to create a rule to address this missing license issue? And then I think our team went back and said, all right, let's take these rules we've applied to the business case, put those in the code, and then figure out how we can make a logical description of what the license status is. Does that seem like?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I guess the first thing we needed to do was figure out how to migrate the networks together, as you mentioned. And the funny thing about that is there is no Cisco technology that lets you do that today. So it got complicated because we had to actually invent new tools just to figure out how to move networks from one organization to another. Now, as you know, the problem is these are hotels. Every time the network goes down, people get fired. It's a big mess. So we had to figure out how to do that without spending 8 hours a day with the hotel network down. So that was a pretty big challenge. If we hadn't been able to do that, though, what do you think might have happened to the deal?
Well, it was competitive against Fortinet, and so we knew Fortinet was always there lurking, waiting to, come in when we failed. And so we probably would have lost the whole SD-WAN estate had we not had Boundless come in and kind of save us.
So we also beat Fortinet.
You also beat Fortinet. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So what was the second thing you mentioned?
So the second thing was IHG is, when we talk about how many hotels they have, they're predominantly a franchise model, meaning that each hotel is responsible for buying their own kit that's going to go into the hotel. So the Meraki access points, the Meraki switches, the Meraki MX, and the licensing that goes with it. That hotel owner buys that gear for that hotel. So the first challenge was we didn't know what licensing belonged to what hotel. They had 44 orgs and almost 400,000 Meraki devices deployed. That's a lot of things that were tangled that we didn't know how to untangle. So we didn't even know how to start. And that's magic really behind this solution that got us moving, was that we needed some way to visibly see this data. We needed to be able to see these hotels expired in this month, the next group of hotels in the next month, and we had no way to see that. So we actually asked you guys to build a dashboard. Can we see that we can present to the customer, to the partner, to our internal teams, all leveraging the Meraki dashboard and APIs? We needed that dashboard created, and nobody had anything like that for licensing. It was the hardest deal that I've ever done in my entire career. And I started my career at Cisco where big deals were an everyday thing. This was the largest and probably the most complicated deal I ever had. We never would have been able to even come close without the dashboard that you guys created and the data that you were able to give us on the EA. And that set us up in a nice position because now their software renewal for Meraki licensing is different than their hardware refresh cycle. So we'll always be in this state of they need to refresh their hardware. 3 years later, they need to renew their licensing, and that'll help us stay locked in as the brand for all of the hotels, because no other competitor will be able to beat our pricing. So the dashboard that you guys created to get the renewal is what's, leading to a better experience for them and be able to help their hotels figure out what they owe, as well as strategically for us to stay sticky inside the account. I've said this to anybody that has ever heard me talk about the IHG. We would not have an IHGA without Boundless Digital. 100% full stop. So thank you for that. Thank you for all that you guys did. And I may be one of your biggest advocates, sharing with all of my peers. And it doesn't even have to be a problem similar to what I've talked about today. You guys can almost do anything. And you're kind of like our Houdini, our magic. We talk about Meraki magic. You guys are one of those behind the scenes that make the Meraki magic happen, where you can really tailor a solution that there's a business need for any customer out there, whether it's in hospitality or whether it's in ride share or whether it's in, another franchise model or with a large financial. You guys have solutions that'll fit all of those.
We really appreciate you and everything you do for us. But I think it works both ways too. But working with you and your team is probably the best experience we've had, because we can see just how cohesive everyone in Cisco and Meraki are. It's really a team. Everyone's looking out for each other. There's a lot of trust going back both ways. We spend a lot of time on sales calls with sales teams trying to figure out how we can deliver value to customers. And a lot of times there's stuff that just, the deal won't move forward unless there's some magic that can happen. And I've spent a lot of time working with some of the TSAs trying to figure out how can we combine software engineering, networking, math to come up with a solution so that we can do something that's never been done before. But it's working.
When we were working with IHG and you joined many calls with us, almost every call that we had with them with our challenges, and Matt Bateman from IHG just looked at us and said, there should be no Meraki products sold without Boundless Digital included. Like, Boundless Digital should be included in every single Meraki deal that we sell. And that was the one that hit me like, yeah, it really should. You guys are kind of that layer in between us and the customer that you kind of hide the deficiencies that we have. There are some out there, and you guys just make it seamless to the customer. And the customer saying that was proof that everything that you guys did was well above anything that they had expected, and the experience was amazing.
Well, thank you for trusting us, Steve. We really appreciate you.
Yeah. And so to all the account managers out there, I was a global account manager for 5 years on one of the largest retailer accounts in the world for Cisco. And if I would have had somebody like Boundless Digital, we probably would have gotten a lot more done. So my call to action for you guys is, no matter what problem you have, if you'll engage Boundless Digital or any of our Meraki ecosystem partners, you will accelerate your deals, you'll close your deals faster, you'll actually increase your deal size, and you'll make the customer a lot happier by bringing them in sooner, and you'll also protect any footprint that you have out there, or you'll help with any competitive takeouts. They can literally do anything with the Meraki dashboard, even if it's not something we've talked about today.